Is selfishness always a bad thing, or could it in some twisted way be the key to a better society? Now there's a question to get the old brain cogs whirring. It's a question that has been debated extensively thanks to a certain Russian-American writer and philosopher, Ayn Rand. You might know her as the controversial figure who shook the world with her philosophy, Objectivism, a philosophy that, in a nutshell, champions rational self-interest. Yes, you heard it right. Rational self-interest, advocating for the idea that your own happiness, your own well-being, should be your primary moral obligation. Sounds a bit selfish, doesn't it? But could there be more to it than meets the eye? This philosophy, as you can imagine, has sparked a firestorm of controversy. It's been called everything from revolutionary to downright dangerous. So, buckle up, because we're about to take a deep dive into the heart of this philosophical controversy. Enter Ayn Rand, the controversial philosopher who turned the concept of selfishness on its head. Ayn Rand, a Russian-American writer and philosopher, introduced a philosophy that she named Objectivism. It's a philosophy that encourages us to see the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. At the heart of Rand's philosophy is the idea of rational self-interest. According to Rand, if you want to live a fulfilling, successful life, you must pursue your own interests. This doesn't mean you should be a tyrant or trample over others to get what you want. No, Rand's idea of self-interest is grounded in rationality. It's about making decisions that are in your best interest based on reason and logic, not whims or emotions. Rand states that selfishness is a necessary ingredient for a life well lived. It's about respecting your own worth and not sacrificing your happiness or well-being for the sake of others. It's about acknowledging that your life is yours to live, and you have the right to make choices that will make you happy. But Rand's philosophy doesn't stop at individual rights and self-interest. She believed that a society can only be just if it respects the rights of individuals. In her view, a society that forces individuals to sacrifice their own self-interest for the common good is not a just society at all. It's a society that disregards individual rights and promotes collectivism over individualism. Rand was a staunch advocate of capitalism, seeing it as the only system that truly respects individual rights and promotes rational self-interest. She argued that in a capitalist society, individuals are free to pursue their own interests, and this pursuit leads to innovation, progress, and prosperity for all. According to Rand, selfishness isn't a vice, it's a virtue. But is it really that simple? As we plunge a little deeper into Rand's philosophy and the criticisms it garners, we'll uncover the layers of complexity in this seemingly straightforward concept. So let's keep our thinking caps on as we continue to explore the fascinating world of Ayn Rand's Objectivism. Not everyone agrees with Rand. Critics argue that her philosophy promotes selfishness and undermines societal cohesion. Now this is where the plot thickens. Let's dive into the counter-arguments against the philosophy of Objectivism, shall we? Critics argue that Objectivism, with its emphasis on individual rights and personal happiness, can lead to a dangerous disregard for the welfare of the community. They see this as a philosophy that encourages individuals to prioritize their own interests above all else, potentially leading to a society where compassion and empathy are sidelined. Moreover, critics point out that Rand's philosophy could exacerbate social inequalities. They argue that if everyone is solely focused on their own success, those who start at a disadvantage, whether through poverty, discrimination, or other societal barriers, are likely to be left behind. Some critics go even further, suggesting that Rand's philosophy could lead to a Hobbesian war of all against all. They posit that if everyone is out for themselves, society could devolve into a state of cutthroat competition where the strong prey on the weak. However, supporters of Rand would argue that this is a misinterpretation. They claim that rational self-interest doesn't mean disregarding others completely. Instead, they believe that by focusing on self-improvement and personal happiness, individuals can contribute to society in a more meaningful way. Critics also take issue with Rand's belief in absolute morality, arguing that this perspective can be overly simplistic and fail to account for the complexities of human behavior and the moral grey areas that often exist in real-world situations. They also question the feasibility of Rand's vision of a society based on pure capitalism, arguing that such a system could lead to unchecked corporate power and exploitation. The critics make a compelling case, but as with any philosophy, the truth may be somewhere in the middle. There we have it, folks. The critics have had their say, but remember, philosophy isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. It's about finding balance, and perhaps the middle ground is where we'll find it. Stay tuned for our next scene, where we'll explore just that. Could there be a middle ground between Rand's radical individualism and the critics' call for societal responsibility? Let's tread carefully here, as we attempt to bridge the seemingly impassable chasm between Ayn Rand's objectivism and the critics' demand for greater societal obligation. What we're looking for is a philosophical compromise that maintains the sanctity of individual rights while acknowledging the importance of societal welfare. A tall order, wouldn't you say? But let's give it a shot. One potential middle ground could be libertarian socialism. Now, before you balk at the seemingly contradictory terms, let's break it down. Libertarian socialism advocates for complete individual freedom and direct democracy, but also for the collective ownership and management of the means of production. This means it eliminates the capitalist element that critics of Rand often point to as promoting selfishness. Instead, it replaces it with a system where everyone has an equal stake and responsibility. Another possible compromise could be social democracy. Social democracy is a political, social and economic philosophy that supports economic and social interventions to promote social justice within the framework of a liberal democratic polity and a capitalist-oriented economy. It seeks to balance individual liberty and agency with a community-oriented approach to addressing societal challenges. These compromises, of course, are not without their own critics and controversies. Some might argue that they dilute the essence of objectivism too much, while others may claim they don't go far enough in ensuring societal welfare. But the point here isn't to find a perfect solution. The point is to stimulate thought, to challenge our preconceptions, and to explore the possibilities of philosophical reconciliation. Perhaps, in acknowledging the merits of both individualism and societal responsibility, we might stumble upon a path that allows us to navigate the complexities of our modern world with a bit more grace and understanding. Finding a middle ground isn't easy, but perhaps it's necessary for a fair and just society. So, is selfishness a virtue or a vice? Is Ayn Rand's philosophy the path to a better society or a recipe for disaster? As we've journeyed through the terrain of objectivism, we've encountered perspectives as diverse as the philosophy itself. On one side of the coin, we have Rand's assertion that rational self-interest is not only a moral imperative, but the key to societal prosperity. Her philosophy advocates for the individual's right to pursue their own happiness without interference, a concept that resonates with many. Freedom, personal responsibility, and the pursuit of one's own goals. Sounds quite appealing, doesn't it? Then again, on the flip side, we have the critics. They argue that Rand's philosophy promotes a sense of ruthless individualism that undermines empathy, social responsibility, and collective progress. They fear that if everyone followed Rand's advice to the letter, our society might devolve into a survival of the fittest scenario where the strong prosper and the weak suffer. A rather grim prospect, isn't it? And yet, between these two polarizing views, a potential middle ground emerges. A place where self-interest doesn't negate social responsibility, but coexists with it. Where one's pursuit of happiness doesn't trample on the happiness of others. Where personal freedom is balanced with empathy and respect for the collective. A society where the virtues of objectivism can be harnessed without spiraling into a dog-eat-dog world. But where does that leave us? Is Ayn Rand's philosophy a guiding light or a dangerous beacon? Should we embrace her ideas wholeheartedly, reject them outright, or seek a balance between self-interest and social responsibility? The answer, as with most philosophical questions, is ultimately up to you. What do you think? Thanks for joining us on another episode of Philosophical Flicks, as we dissected the provocative philosophy of Ayn Rand. We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity and encouraged you to delve deeper into the world of philosophy. Remember, the beauty of philosophy lies in its ability to provoke thought, challenge norms, and inspire dialogue. So, whether you're an objectivist, a critic, or somewhere in between, we encourage you to continue the conversation. Share your thoughts, engage with others, and let's keep this philosophical journey going. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.